been talking internationally. He's also a trainer. His company, Blue Chameleon.
Blue Chameleon, yeah.
Blue Chameleon. And this evening, he's going to tell us about the E's. He's going to educate us about energy, environment, and enthusiasm.
That's correct.
So I will have you to come on. And after you're through, you've got about 25 minutes.
Okay, I'll have to.
You better hurry up, because then I have to bring Bree on.
Okay. Hi, ladies, how are you? All right, I know you guys just had some food and it's late today, but let's get some oxygen in the head so we can all breathe and think a little bit. Now, as she said, my name is Patrick Hunter. I'm a trainer. I've been doing corporate training and accelerated learning and techniques and memory techniques. I did a memory workshop for many years, covering many what's called mnemonic devices, in other words, techniques to memorize things for years. And behavioral science is my passion, and how to get people to actually follow through is what they want to do. And just to give you a little example of one of the things is I'm pushing 60 and I'm still working on my memory all the time. So, we got Lisa, and then we've got Jackie, AC, Bree, and Vivian, Barbara, Judy, and then we've got Kamisha, and then Joyce, and her sister Joel. And I didn't meet you yet. What's your name? Shirley. Shirley. Hi, Shirley. And Dolores, and also we have Kirby, and Anna, and then Melody, and then Cheryl, yeah, and then Juanita, nice to see you again, and Joan, of course, and I think that's everybody except for Carolyn over there and in the back. But that's just one of the things I teach is accelerated learning and memory techniques, how to memorize speeches, all that kind of stuff. But tonight we're going to talk about the 3 E's. Energy, environment, and enthusiasm. And controlling these things. Why do you want to control these things? Well, because if you can control these things, you can conquer and accomplish anything. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life. It doesn't matter what age you are. As long as you can take some skills with you, and you'll have a good time. So if I give you guys a couple of good ideas, a couple aha moments tonight, well, then I've done my job, I feel, right? Just let me ask you, how many of you have ever tried to reinvent yourself? How many of you have ever tried to break a bad habit?
Yeah.
With you or somebody else? How many of you have ever tried to lose weight? I know. How many of you have ever tried to set goals and never happened? Is it because you're not intelligent enough? Absolutely not. So what I'm going to share with you in a little while is how the brain actually processes information and how we can override some of these things and take control of what really controls us is not our intellect, but it's our emotional drive. The brain has lots of chemicals and all these things, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a bit. But the fact is that if you could have a microchip and just put it on the side of your head, take out the emotions, take out all the adrenalines and the hormones and all that stuff, you could do anything. The fact is we have the most amazing thing between our ears, and it's not only hormonal, it's electrical, it's electrochemical, there's all sorts of different things in the brain that you really don't have a lot of control over. We have thousands and thousands of thoughts each and every day, every second to motorize our body, to do everything, but most of that is negative self-talk most of the time. So we have to learn to stop ourselves and stop the talking, the self-talk that we're doing all the time and reprogram it so that we can get to do some of the other things. The other thing I do is I'm a coach for speakers. So I teach people how to speak. And one of the big things I see all the time is people almost having a heart attack when they have to stand up in front of somebody and introduce themselves. Have you ever seen that before?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, one time I was really afraid, and I was really a shy kid, if you believe that. A lot of people don't believe it. But it's true. And so one of the things I teach is fear busting. I can teach different techniques for what you want to accomplish. Because it really is creating new habits. That's what we're going to talk about when I get into it. I don't have a lot of time today. She's cut me down so much today. This is usually like a 2-hour talk. But why did I get into all this? Well, I was a DF student. I was dyslexic. Nobody understood what that was when I was growing up. They do now. They know a lot about it now, but they didn't then. So I didn't actually start learning until after I got out of school, and I taught myself a lot of accelerated learning and memory techniques. And so then I had to reinvent myself because, you know, once I found out I was really good at playing and singing, I found out I wasn't gonna be a rock star. So I decided to change and reinvent myself. So I said, well, how's a guy with not much education gonna make some money? So I started doing concerts and voiceovers and stuff like that. In fact, how many of you have ever heard this before? Ladies and gentlemen, now performing live on the Disneyland stage. You ever hear that before? Well, that wasn't me, but it could be. But the fact is that, you know, I have lots of talents and we all have great talents, but a lot of people don't get the chance to use all their talents because of fear, because of lack of knowledge, because it's not that, like I said, it's not that we're not intelligent enough, we all are, but how do we program that? So I'm gonna get into that, but the reason I really got involved in this is because when I got into business, I got into sales. I started working in the mortgage and real estate business. And I started running mortgage companies, and I became a real estate broker. And I started doing a lot of training. And I found out I liked the training better. So I started doing a lot of training for people. And then what I found out is that when I was going out there and training all these people and doing these wonderful seminars and giving them all this excellent information, that very few people actually implemented and used what I taught them. And that was very frustrating because these companies were paying me a lot of money to coach all their people, but they weren't using anything. So I said, well, how can I get people to actually follow through and override their negative impulse to become a slacker or to just, maybe that's not for me, maybe I can't do it, and actually use some of the techniques and stuff that they learned. So what I started doing is I started researching how the brain processes information. I became hungry for everything possible I could find on success and motivation. And we've all heard, have you all heard this before? If you think you can, you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, it really is about what we're thinking, but more importantly, it's about how we program ourselves through sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. And what I found out is some of the best stuff out there. There's a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, yes.
Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz.
Yes.
All this stuff is not new, right? This stuff's been around for 100 years. But the beautiful thing is that recently is they've actually, through digital brain mapping and chemical checking and cellular level, they've actually proven that if you can think it can happen type thinking really does work. And to me, that was pretty exciting. In fact, my favorite guy, and he was around for a long time too, was Carl Prebro, Stanford Neuropsychiatric Research Center. They call him like the father of neuropsychology, but what I really liked about him is the fact that not only was he a psychiatrist, but he was a brain surgeon and a neurobiologist. So to me, that's the pinnacle. If you've got somebody who knows the mechanics and the reasons, that's pretty cool, right? So he was the one that actually went along with IBM and Chrysler and a lot of sports, NFL, a lot of the companies, and they designed the motivational programs where they did the research where people would have to do all their exercises and all their training mentally one day, and then they'd have to do it the next day physically like they normally did. What they discovered is that they did it mentally over and over again, if they walked through it and coached how to think through it, that they actually consistently delivered a little bit better results if they did it mentally. So what does that tell you? That means that if you can think it, it can happen, right? Absolutely. Well, through sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell, you can really program these things. So what I'm going to do with you guys today is, let's say I got a few things I want to go over real quick. Bad things can happen to you too, right? So when we're trying to learn all these things, you can overcome fears, but you can't overcome some of the things that happen to you unless you know some of these techniques. We've all had bad things happen. I've been very successful. I was actually hired by Realtor.com to be their top speaker and trainer for all of Southern California, and when they launched, which was really exciting because they were going public and they gave me a lot of stock options, right? So on paper, right then, my stock went from $17 to $136 overnight. I was wealthy on paper. But beyond my control, the CEO of Home Store got busted for insider trading. Guess what happened to Realtor.com stock, Home Store stock? So there, my job was worthless, the stock was worthless, I had to recover from that. We all have things that happen to us in our families too. I mean, I've had to deal with the death of my parents, my daughter's issues, mental illness, dementia, you name it, car accidents. All these things happen to us, but we have to keep going, right? But it's a lot easier if you understand that this stuff can be diminished. The result on us can have less effect if we learn how to use some of the NLP techniques, neuro-linguistic programming. So if you can use some of these techniques, they've been around for a long time, then they can program things and we can actually get rid of emotions that are bothering us or hurting us and actually enhance the things that we want. Is that cool?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. So what we're gonna do, since we've got a little short time, I'm going to give you guys some of the exercises that I came up with. Believe it or not, I came up with this stuff in the 80s, so we could pass some of that way. Pass some of this way. If I could have a passer router, anybody want to know?
Yeah,
Oh, there she comes.
This table. Thanks, Deb. That way with that, and then we need some 5 or 6 down there, okay? Got some more? Need a few more? All right. All right, what we're going to do is I teach everything with mnemonics, memory techniques. So we're going to do our exercise here mentally. Turn it over on the back where it looks like a clock. And I'm going to give you some information that I'm going to have you work on mentally, and then I'm going to tell you what it is that you've learned. All right? So the first thing I want you to write there on number 1, a plus sign, or you can even write out plus sign. And the brain is more attracted to things that are animated, fast moving. So for example, if you see something dart out of the side of your eye, you'll attract your brain to it, right? Everybody see that movie Up?
Yeah.
Squirrel. That was a great movie, I love it. But yeah, shiny object syndrome is what they call it. So your brain is actually attracted to things that move, vibrate, make noise. All these things go right to your subconscious brain, which is our driving brain, okay? We have a critical brain up here, and all that brain does is think and process information. It also tells us all the time, oh no, we can't do that, oh that's not real. But your subconscious mind has no idea whether anything is real or not. And I'm going to give a demonstration of that as soon as we get done with this. Okay, number 2, I want you to put salad. And number 3, treadmill. Number 4, TV remote. Number 5, leash. Leash, like a dog leash. Number 6, pillow. Number 7, suit or dress. A pretty suit or a pretty dress. Maybe something that AC sells. All right. Well, what number are we on?
8.
All right. Number 8. Let's see what I have. Oh, I didn't memorize it. Oh, now, you have to switch that. Number 8 was a dress or a suit. Number 7 was a notepad and pen or paper.
I didn't hear you. No pad.
Number 7 was a pad and paper. Number 8 was a dress or a suit. Number 9, sticky note. Sticky note. And number 10, X. All right, now the reason this works, I'll tell you what those are. Number 1 is a plus sign. That means you gotta have a positive mental attitude, morning, noon, and night. Even if you're thinking negative, you have to counteract it. And the way you do that is do what I call a positivity check. You know, we have these beautiful phones these days, right? Where we can set alarms. I want you to set an alarm on your phone 3 times a day for a positivity check. Where's your head at? Okay? Because if you don't track it and you don't stay on it daily and program it, it's not gonna happen. Okay? The next thing is that in order for your brain to work best, you have to give it proper nutrition, right? So you gotta eat healthy. By the way, a lot of people think that a lot of the food that they eat, they're learning about it now, that they used to think was bad is really good. So your body needs nuts and oils and things like that, you know, because the brain can't function properly without the proper fats. It works better if you have the right fats in your brain. So that's very, you have to eat healthy in order to program your brain properly, okay? And along with that, you need oxygen and you need to exercise. So that's why we have a treadmill, right? And one of the things that's really important that I think, if you want to stimulate your body and you want to stimulate your mind, if you can break a sweat once a day, it'll help tremendously. Blow your mind how just doing that a little bit. Maybe drink some of the diet coffee and exercise a little bit. Okay? So you have to exercise, okay? Then this one's really important. What's next, guys? Yeah, you know what? We have to control the input. We have to control what's going in our ears, in our eyes, in our mouth. We have to control the input. Because what's out there? A bunch of negativity. You ever run into negative people all the time? They're always saying, oh, that can't happen. Oh, don't pay attention to her. She doesn't know anything. You know? So you got to block out all the negativity and all the stuff. You got to control what goes in your head. You got to control, I mean, you got to quit watching The Bachelor. You got to quit watching all this stuff that's on TV. I know it's almost impossible to watch some of these shows. You're soap operas and whatnot. But if you got to control it. In fact, now we got DVRs, right? So what we can do is we can pick one day where we can slouch all day and just binge watch all of our shows. And the rest of the time, if you cut out TV, you'll be amazed what you can get done. It's shocking when you wonder what to do with all this time you found. It's really amazing. Okay, so you have to control the input. That's really important. All right, what's next? All right. Did you do what you set out to do for the day? Did you really follow through and control the types of things you want to overcome? Control your negative habits. So you have a leash to control your negative habits. All right? Now what's the next one? All right, now the other critical thing to behavior, mood, and everything is rest and sleep and meditation. So even if you don't get a great sleep, as long as you get like 15 minutes to just visualize about your goals. You ever done a vision board? Well, if you do that every day, if you set aside 15 minutes a day in the morning and 15 minutes at night to go through and see your outcome. You know, we call this deja vu, already seen. If you see, the thing is, like when we're talking about those exercises and when the results came out better for them because they visualized, that's what they're talking about. They saw themselves making the goal. They saw themselves making the sale. They actually talked of, what are the words I use? They put it on tape and listen to it again. If you take 15 minutes a day and program yourself, you'd be amazed at how much that will help you do that. Okay? And what's the next one? This is one of the things that helped me dramatically improve everything. The night before you go to bed, write down 5 to 10 things you want to accomplish for the next day and then review them in the morning. And just remember, you might want to write this down. It's one of my favorite sayings I came up with. It's not how you start the day. It's not what happens during the day, but it's how you finish the day. Because it doesn't matter if it's 12 o'clock at night, as long as you finish everything you set out to do that you wrote down, it'd be great. And a lot of people say they have bad days. I don't think there's anything such as a bad day. There's bad minutes. Okay, and you can counteract and correct those bad minutes. Because you can't talk about, you know, things happen to us like I explained earlier, right? But it's not whether if you react, then you're just jumping into it. You need to pause and step back and respond. Respond, don't react. Because if somebody comes at you with something and makes you angry, you can't stand it, you want to jump down their throat, yell at them. But if you take the time back, smile, count to 10 like Mom said, you know, do that, seriously. I had a friend that you know, gets so mad all the time. So I said, look, stop yourself when you get mad. I gave him a little trigger, and I said, you slap yourself on the side, walk away, that's a mental trigger. It'll stimulate your brain, and you automatically become calm at that point, and you'll come back at it the next day or whatever. With him, I had to start out and tell him he had to write it down.